What's up, traddies? Welcome back. Today we're doing our second video on Ballerina Farm, aka Hannah Nealman. If you haven't watched the first video yet, definitely go check that out because we dissected the story that broke the internet on the Times UK. In this story, a journalist, Megan Agnew, followed around Hannah Nealman, the face behind Ballerina Farm's brand and Instagram phenomenon, asking her questions about her life as the queen of trad wives. It kind of caused an uproar on the internet because everybody was like, it feels like there's something about this is giving me the ick. Is she held against her will? Is Megan Agnew a biased reporter? Is this, what's going on here? We need more. I mean, the internet is set ablaze by everybody doing their personal think pieces on this very divisive article. And since then, there have been many developments that I would like to share with you. The first thing I would like to talk about is Apron Gate. After this article went viral, everybody started digging through all of the old Ballerina Farm content and found this clip that is really a bad look for Daniel, Hannah's husband.
It was my birthday present from Daniel. These are tickets to Greece.
It's from Ukraine.
So, plane tickets? A hat I can wear in Greece.
What's that hat?
Oh, my egg apron!
Great, I didn't gather eggs. You're welcome.
Thanks, honey.
Ugh. Usually I make comments as I watch a piece of content, but this one is so uncomfortable. She immediately asks about the tickets to Greece and it's silence. Keep in mind, his father owns JetBlue, and through other blog posts and information that we've combed through as an internet community, it seems as if Daniel, being the heir to JetBlue, he has a very exclusive, easy way to get cheap, discounted, or free flights using the airline that, he is the heir to. So surely tickets to Greece shouldn't be hard to come by. Maybe this is just as bad as getting your wife a vacuum for Christmas. That's a bad look.
Here's this to help you do chores better.
And then the awkward silence and the "you're welcome" at the end is very unsettling. And the internet had a lot to say about this. These are the comments. She's like, "Thanks, but where are my tickets?" "I would run away in the middle of the night. I would cry. He didn't even wrap it." That's true. It's just in the literally the postal service box. If I was married to a billionaire and this was my birthday gift, I would have packed me and all those kiddos and left that day to buy a new house in Greece, egg apron and all. This is insane. For a lot of people, this TikTok was the nail in the coffin to make them choose the side of journalist Megan Agnew. That video has over 55 million views. So along with the viral TikTok, people dug up other pieces of horrifying material. So Hannah has been doing pageants for years. It's how she paid her way through Juilliard. A few fans, or maybe we call them snarkers, dug through Hannah's old blog. She's been at this for years and years and years, and found an old post that set off some alarm bells. After Miss New York 2011, Daniel was so happy I didn't win. He brought my engagement ring with him and wanted to propose right then and there. That is another story in and of itself. But long story short, I told him to wait till we were alone. Phew. The thing about that is important to note is that it's a very big deal to not be married if you're gonna be competing in pageants. Because if you get married, you have to compete in Mrs. pageants, not Miss. So Miss America, Miss USA, those are the big ones, but you have to compete in a different category if you're married. It's so stupid and outdated. I don't know why marital status matters, but many women in the pageant industry put off engagements, marriages. Even having a boyfriend is sometimes a bad look. So I can understand how she's probably terrified of him fucking up her chances because he wants to propose right where he wants. Also, her grammar is not very good. Next piece of evidence. Daniel has been working like a dog, which means he works all the time. He leaves around 7:30 a.m. and he doesn't get home till about 10 p.m. Terrible. We have a little cute house in Alphaville and we are safe and healthy. Henry and I don't have a car because D-Man has to drive to work, which is about an hour and a half away. So we really have been getting some good one-on-one time. He loves me and I love him. When I get depressed, usually around Wednesday because I haven't left the house in a few days and I never see my husband, I just listen to Henry and try to really live in these little moments when it's just he and I in the house. So I think it's perfectly normal for most people to share a car. However, he is a billionaire. billionaire. Not knowing the language makes things a bit more complicated as well. Henry and I just look at each other when the mailman asks us a question and are just so grateful that we have at least each other to talk to. Okay, so this was when they were living in Brazil. So her not having a car, for most couples, that is not the end of the world. I think it's perfectly normal, especially in this economy, but he has the means. It is very clear. It is crystal fucking clear that he has the means to give her a car. I mean, laid out objectively, this has to be a control thing, right? For her to not have a car and be stuck at home with a baby all day is my personal hell. In a country where she doesn't know anyone, to not be able to leave the house for 5 days out of the week, I don't think anybody would choose that. He probably fired the mailman from UPS after he was talking to his wife too much. Some of these I think are a little chronically online. The things that people are picking her apart for are a little ridiculous. And also, I think it's fair to say, if you wrote a journal entry about your day every day for 10 years, there would be some shit that would make you and your partner and your family look bad unknowingly. This is a blog post about one of her pregnancy moments. After lunch, we decided to go for a drive and get out of the house to blow the stink off. We were headed to Costco when my parents called and invited us out to dinner. I was relieved at the invite because I wasn't really feeling up to Costco. I was getting tired. I started to bleed more, so I stopped by my midwife's house so she could check on baby girl. She said baby was healthy and happy and in my belly, and that I was at a 4 and 90% effaced. Sorry, I've never been preggies. I don't know these words. Off to dinner we went, but all the restaurants in Springville had over an hour wait, so we just decided to have dinner at my parents' house. Fried potatoes and eggs, and then for dessert, Moana. We put the movie on and sat down, and that's when things started getting more intense. Rushes were happening about every 5 to 7 minutes now, and they were much harder. So also something that people were talking about is that it's very much like a conservative thing to not be comfortable speaking about women's health. Like, is a rush not just a contraction? That's something a lot of people were flagging in the comments, but granted, like, I also come from this background where I know nothing about my body, and I also feel horribly uncomfortable talking about it, so I think she means contractions by rushes. I could feel when they were coming on, so I would stand up and hobble into the dining room and sway and breathe through each one by myself. After about 45 minutes of that, I told Daniel we needed to go home. He was just getting into the movie, so he suggested we stay to finish. She's in the corner, she's like, oh my god, I am literally giving birth right now. I am in the worst pain of my life. He's over here like,
We're like almost to the best part. Could you stop making this about you? It's kind of being a bitch.
but it was time. I needed to be at home now and start getting in the zone. The rushes were too strong to be watching movies with. We packed up the kiddos and off we went. It was a blizzard outside and everything was covered in snow. By the time we unpacked the kids, got them dressed for bed and to sleep, I was in full-blown labor. You've got to be fucking kidding me. She was dropping a full-blown 8-pound, 7-ounce child out of her cooter, and he was enjoying the works of Lin-Manuel Miranda. You know, I too love Hamilton, but I would do that for Hamilton, but doing that for Moana I think is a little bit of a dick move. As all this information is being collected, people are going berserk. But then, of course, it's the internet, so people decided that this is a divisive party system issue. There were a couple people in the camp of, this journalist is biased and making this up and framing them to look awful. There are a couple people in the camp of, she's happy, this is an attack on traditional families and marriages. This country is built for traditional families and marriages, so I don't want to hear it. Anyway. As this issue continued to get divisive, people started finding the podcast recording that I actually spoke about in the first video, and there were some interesting takes on it.
It just keeps getting crazier. More things no one is conveniently talking about with that hit piece from Ballerina Farm and what that journalist did. There are clipped recordings of Hannah and Daniel answering her questions where you can absolutely see that she twisted everything out of context in that first article.
You give up a piece of yourself. Yeah. And Daniel was like, if you want to dance, like, go dance, like.
I would not say it was a hit piece. Do I think it was an interview? I mean, it wasn't questions being asked and answered back and forth. There was a narrative built around it, but I do not think it was a hit piece, Miss Drama. Hannah in this clip says, I felt like I had the autonomy to go dance, but there's 20 more minutes of article reading that show an interview where she does not say this. We're mad about the apron thing, the lack of help she has in her household, the written interruptions from Daniel, her not having a car in Brazil. We're mad about about 50 things that we actually can confirm happened factually, and then you're going to cherry pick one line of this recording to make them look good. So obviously take all this information with a grain of salt and come to your own conclusions, but for me, I thought so many people who are in favor of the trad wife agenda were so stoked that there was a minor discrepancy in the recording versus the journalism. After all of this shitstorm happens, Hannah Nealman comes out with a response.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a reporter come into our home to learn more about our family and business. We were taken back when we saw the printed article, which shocked us and shocked the world by being an attack on our family and my marriage, portraying me as oppressed, with my husband being the culprit. This couldn't be further from the truth. Nothing we said in the interview implied this conclusion, which leads me to believe the angle taken was predetermined. We are co-parents, co-CEOs. We are one. And I love him more today than I did 13 years ago.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was an attack on her family, but I don't think Megan Agnew came out and said Ballerina Farm is a horrible mother with too many kids to take care of and their house is a mess and these kids blah 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 blah. But at the same time, if this woman comes out and says, I'm fine, stop yapping, it's not my job to invent conspiracies. One thing a lot of people were able to note was that she got lots of clips of the gym that she works out in. I think this is supposed to be a clap back at like, yeah, I don't have my own ballet studio, but I have a home gym and that's pretty fucking lit. If she were in a loving, equal marriage that doesn't raise any red flags, I would say that she's a great freaking role model. I think it's so impressive to be able to raise a gaggle, what do you even call it? A wolf pack of children. It's amazing to keep a marriage for that long. It's amazing to build a business that you are proud of. It's amazing to still compete in pageants. She is a remarkable person. She really is. But I do think I side-eye Daniel a little bit. I'm not entirely convinced. But then at the same time, you want to believe her and just take her word for it. Also, fun fact, on TikTok, this is marked as a flagged video that says participating in these activities could put you or others in danger. And everybody's kind of joking about what the cause could be. Could it be that she's letting kids run around in a gym? Could it be that she has a baby on her while she's driving some sort of tractor? This gets into mom shaming territory, but I do feel like the baby on the shoulder in a tractor by yourself while driving it is a little wild. The TikTok girlies are eating her up for this one. We're done having babies. Girl, what do you mean? Why does it sound like she's reading a paragraph? Oh girl, we really, really, really hope that everything you say in this video is actually true, right? If it's true, then lit. He's like, say how much you love doing Ballerina Farm and making cheese in Camas, Utah with me. Say it. You didn't even like ballet. You weren't even that good. It wasn't even the article that convinced me. It was the video of the light leaving her eyes with the egg apron and his condescending "you're welcome" at the end. Okay, Daniel, start writing your own book. This script was really great. I think the TikTok comments are pretty in opposition, but I feel like this, as far as people taking sides on if they are following Hannah or if they're following the journalism, to me it seems 50-50, but on TikTok they are eating her alive for this one. Then Hannah dropped an Instagram post, just a photo, directing everybody to check out the new link in her bio, which led to the About Us page of Ballerina Farm, which was now updated in response to everything happening right now. So I've been trying to get in touch with Megan Agnew, the author of the original piece that has set the internet on fire, and I have not been able to get in touch with her. I think every major news publication that I have spoken to as well, Megan Agnew is MIA, but she has released a part 2 to this article. I think Megan is a newer journalist who has never experienced this kind of hate before, and I think she's trying to navigate that at this time. In this part 2, I don't even think it's worth reading. I think it's honestly just kind of glazing Hannah. It's kind of just the same thing, but a fluffier version. So I don't really know why this was released. I think it's Megan not being able to handle the heat and backing away. I mean, look at this quote. Arriving at the farm, driving down a long track was simply awesome. One of the most beautiful places I have ever seen. Nealman herself was as calm. I think she just said the same thing, but took a more delicate tone. Another quote, "It was a life of contradictions. Children not allowed screens, but who are reality TV characters online for millions. A stay-at-home mother who has made a career out of being so. An analog, old-fashioned farm, only working because it is underwritten by social media cash. A choice, modern in her ability to have one, to do something so very traditional." Where Nealman wanted to be a New York girl and professional ballet dancer, Daniel had always imagined this enormous, daring life for himself, despite growing up in the Connecticut suburbs without a single animal, the son of an airline founder. He had staunchly traditional views combined with an unmistakable 21st century business acumen. Her husband had always wanted to have a farm and make a living off the land. He expected his wife to stay at home with his children. He was a firm believer, he said, that men make stuff work and women beautify. So a lot of people are using this part 2 to say that, oh, Megan's a fraudster, she doesn't know what she's talking about, she's walking back all of her words, we can't trust a thing she says. But I'm reading through this and I'm like, I think honestly, Megan Agnew could not handle the heat she was getting for that first article and rewrote it with a little bit more fluff. I think this made Megan look a little dumb. I think it was a bad look for her to release a part 2 because I'm just like more of the same but nicer. I don't get it, so I would love to know your thoughts on this one. The conclusion here though is, I think this is the reason she inspires such strong opinions. The trad life makes women feel threatened by one another's choices. It is as if one lifestyle is going to inhibit the other, that our freedom, however we interpret freedom, is being undermined by the existence of someone else's. Women who work in a paid job feel terrified that by promoting the seeming peace and harmony of a traditional home life, Nealman is threatening their ability to choose otherwise. They fear that they are going to experience guilt or resistance if other women do choose otherwise. Anything great requires sacrifice, Nealman said as we stood on the side of the mountain surrounded by babies and chickens. You know what, she said gently, you know what it took to get where you're at, and that I think is the very simple and complicated truth of it. This is the same thing, but Megan's trying to make it seem like she has no personal viewpoint on this. The narrative just shifted a little bit, but the information, the brass tacks of what happened and what Nealman said are exactly the same. This article is stupid. We didn't need a part 2, but it makes her look bad because now Hannah Nealman's father-in-law, so Daniel's father, came on Twitter and was like, see, look how stupid. Megan Agnew wrote a part 2 walking back everything she said because she's so dumb, and Hannah and Daniel are totally right and slaying girl bossing, and the internet are a bunch of blue-haired libtards, okay? Her sister did the same thing, coming out being like, they're perfect, the internet sucks, Megan Agnew's a dummy, this was false journalism. And that's everything you missed on Ballerina Farm Drama. I don't think the journalist had the full context of what it means to be a Mormon housewife and grow up in that culture. It seems like Hannah's a caged bird, but also she's been taught to want to be a caged bird because that's what the religion teaches you, and if she's happy, like, that's kind of fine. But I think she was missing that context being from the UK where it's such an abnormal thing. And I do think the original report was almost less biased and just shocked that Megan had never experienced anything like this. I mean, a farm, a Mormon family, a influencer family, that's a lot to take in at once. And I think Megan's viewpoint comes from a young feminist UK woman, and the amount of cultural differences were so shocking to her that I don't think she was able to find any common ground with Hannah. Where if you sent me, I think I would write a completely different article based on my interview with Hannah because I have a lot of context about where she's coming from, where he's coming from, and what's going on behind the scenes. Hannah seems like a lovely woman. Megan seems like a lovely woman. The internet's being a little ridiculous about this. We do know this. Daniel gave her a fucking apron for her birthday when he is a billionaire who owns an airline. It would be so easy to take her to Greece. She has 8 kids with no help. She gets a cleaner once a week, and a lot of people online say that her house is often very dirty because she can't keep up with it. We know that she was pushed into starting a family earlier than she wanted to. We know that she was forced to chose to live in Brazil for 4 years for not her own purposes. We know that she didn't have a car during this time, even though he is a billionaire. We know that she has said she frequently gets exhausted to the point of being bedridden for an entire week at a time. We also know that she doesn't have a ballet studio, even though that was something that she had dreamt about for so long and worked so hard on this brand. So if you laid out all those facts for me, I personally would pass on this lifestyle. So I don't know about you guys. What do you think about this situation? I know it's very murky and I hate to come for anybody involved in this. Definitely no hate to the Ballerina Farm family. I hope they are doing well, and I wish the best to everybody involved in this. I just think it's a very interesting topic going absolutely wild on the internet right now. So if you found this video interesting, please subscribe and share this video to somebody who would like it or somebody who has wronged you in the past, and they'll never know which. Bye!